Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Arkansas Motorsports Magazine's Tuesday Night Tune-Up. I'm Bill Gifford, co-host Heath Tate, and tonight we are in Greenbrier, Arkansas with Caleb Emerson here at Straight Line Transmissions. We've got a very informative show coming up tonight for you, and to begin with, we want to thank this week's sponsors, naturally our host tonight, Straight Line Transmissions of Greenbrier, Shaw Race Cars of Batesville, Arkansas, True Grit Auctions in Dardanelle, Gary and Cindy Morrison over there, and also want to thank Western Petroleum Company of Plummerville, Arkansas for helping bring tonight's program. Heath, you want to kick the show off with any announcements racing related here in Arkansas?
Well, we've got the big race this weekend at Centerville Dragway, weather permitting.
Weather permitting.
The way they're talking, all this rain coming, it looks like Wayne and Patty may be not going to be racing, but y'all pay attention to their site. They'll let you know when they're going to race. If they don't race this weekend, they'll probably race next weekend.
That's right.
Yeah, nobody wants to do paddle boat racing. I mean, where's the fun in that? I mean, we want to smell some tires.
So, but maybe the rain will hold off enough and they can get that in this weekend. But
well, if not, I think they've got a rain delay
next weekend.
So keep watching for that. Also, Doug Dunn.
Yeah, he's got a racers auction
coming up in February. It'll be in Bologna, Arkansas. I believe at the old Kroger store there. It'll be for all kind of motorsports related items. If you check Doug Dunn's Facebook page, it'll be on there. So anyway, but that's about all I can think of right now.
All the racing going on right this second. Of course, we're in a time where we're not got a whole lot of racing going on. So.
But last week's show a little bit. Had a great show last week with Bill Yates, Leonard Hudson, and Melvin Burris, and Johnny Verdon was also on there. And if you didn't get a chance to watch that, folks, please go back on the website, check that out. That was a great show. A lot of history there.
So. A lot of history there, and guys that are still involved in racing and have been doing it for 40 years. So
79, 80 years old, still climbing through the window of a dirt car.
Yeah. Sounds like they're real seasoned guys.
Seasoned is a good word for it.
Good word.
That's a good word for it. And, yes. But anyway, we're here at Straight Line Transmissions tonight with the owner, Caleb Emerson, who was kind enough to invite us down here to Greenbrier tonight. And Caleb, we look around here in the background, this immaculate, clean shop that you have here. I believe that you could probably be running a hospital here.
Yeah, I bet we could probably do several different things, but yeah, there was really no prep work prior to this. This is what we do daily. We try to keep a clean environment for the cars we work on because we're constantly in customers' cars. So why not keep a shop clean? Everybody knows that making a mess is easy, but cleaning it up is a lot harder. So we give it our best. We really do.
Well, I'll tell you, it can tell from looking around here, and you've been here at this location since...
We've been at this location for becoming 7 years, and then starting our 8th year in business this February 21. We went into business February of 2013. So it's been a great ride, and it's still continuing. Raising up kids. We moved here in November of 14, so we've been in Greenbrier, living for 6 years, well over 6 years. So,
and I know the folks at home can't see, but I'm telling you, this is a testament to the business here at Straight Line Transmissions. This shop is full of vehicles from one end to the other. This is a large facility, getting new transmissions put in. So. Obviously, if you're out there in the, in the general area of Greenbrier, Arkansas, and in need of transmission repair, this is obviously the place to come to.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we get majority of our work is local work and even county work, but we have a handful of customers and racers that come from Texarkana. I've done some work for 2 or 3 guys out of Memphis, a couple of guys from Louisiana doing some special Mustang work for, and a few out of Kentucky. So I don't mind servicing people throughout. But it just takes a little bit more patience because of the distance and the type of work they're wanting to do is more performance oriented than just your day-to-day driver. So, but we try to do anything we can for anybody that needs transmission work. So.
Well, it's obviously by the looks of everything that you see here. Like I said, the facility is really clean. It's well maintained, and it's very, very customer friendly. And it's great to see an operation like this. And it's an honor to be sitting here. And if you look around back there, folks, there's transmissions underway, and the tables that they're being worked on are just spotless. And I believe Tate could sit down and have lunch over there if he wanted to. So.
They know. I mean, when you work on a transmission, there's several hundreds of parts, and a lot of the parts are Lego size, and the cavities, the bores that they run in have to be really clean. So, from my grandfather and my dad that has been in business, and dad's still in business, is the cleaner you can keep something, the better chances you're not going to have a problem. And there's things that, we get busy throughout the week and we get a little cluttered around here, but our little cluttered is probably someone's, really organized. But to us, it's a group effort. All the guys, know to keep their area, their benches, when a car's done, we sweep, we mop up. Just try to do what we can to show that we want to represent our name to our community and our customers the best way we can, and that's it. There's no special icing on the cake. It's just, I feel like that needs to be the level for the customers that come in my business. So,
yeah, that's a good adage and attitude to have, and I kind of feel like if you have a customer that comes through the door, you've probably got a customer for life. So
that's the goal.
Yeah, that's the goal. And you talked about your dad and grandfather. And if I remember right, you come from a transmission repair related family.
Yeah. So, and it's something that's really unique, and I carry a lot of heart with that because my grandfather did it for 60 years. He started in it's way before my time. I was born in '82, so that shows my age. But he started, it had to be in the 50s because he was born in the early 30s. With doing transmission repair, he was in the Army, and he was in the motor side of the Army, and I guess they call it not motorcade, but what are they? Oh,
that's in the motor pool.
Motor pool, yeah, there you go. The motor pool stuff, and they just worked on anything and everything to transmissions. And then here comes my dad. He graduated in '79, so he started. I know it was out there at their house. They had a little shop that they did work for customers or side work just to make a little extra to make a living on. And so Dad started then. He bought his first business in '94 in Jacksonville. Guy gave him an opportunity, and me and Dad are a lot alike. You give us an opportunity, we need one shot. That's it. And Dad's been doing it, I think he's in 40 years now. I started officially by the tax work May of 2001, so I'm coming up on my 20-year anniversary. But like Dad and I both, we got more time in it than that. But that's where it comes from. All of our family has had background. A lot of our family has had background in transmission. My dad's brother, older brother Brett, he has had a transmission shop for a long time, and he had worked for my dad at one point, so he'd been in the transmission for years. My Uncle Mark, which is my dad's youngest brother, early on in the, I think, mid-'80s to late 80s, he did some transmission work there for a while, Mr. Transmission in Little Rock, North Little Rock.
Yes, heard of that.
And actually in Amco as well, I believe. So we have a really extensive history in that. So I'm third generation, and then my younger brother, he is with my dad, and they are, running his shop there in Searcy. So, we just, there's just, what can you say about something you're you're excited about is you love to serve people. I mean, I think that needs to be the consistency with every small business owner, because that's where it's at. Is, man, go after them, do everything you can. The mistakes we make, because none of us are perfect. I mean, we all make mistakes, whether it's with our wives, our children, relatives, and our customers. But at the end of the day, come to them straightforward. Say, hey, yeah, we made a mess up. Let me fix that for you. Because they're going to value that that mistake, whether it's our fault or the customer's problem. Let's get together. Let's get a game plan. Let's just make it right. Because at the end of the day, they want their car fixed, and I want to be able to do that for them. So, yeah, it's almost like a badge of honor, to carry on 3 generations. Will there be a 4th? I don't know. I got that Kit man. He's our only boy. I don't think I want the girls doing it, but I ain't gonna press nothing on him. Dad never pressed anything on us boys. If we wanted it, there's your opportunity. Just you have to get it if you want it. And so if Kit wants it, he can do it. I'll throw it at him if he can take it. So that's kind of where we come from. Is,
and I guess you say that if they want. I guess I noticed that your oldest girl wanted to get into a little bit of racing, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that following you and your wife, or?
Yeah. So
tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah.
So y'all want to talk about racing? That's what I like to talk about. We ain't talking about the transmission. We're talking about racing.
For those at home watching that may not know, go ahead and introduce your family into the program.
So my wife is Amber Stiles, because you gotta get that middle name in there, or she'll cut my throat. Amber Stiles Emerson. Her mother and father are Wayne and Patty Stiles. They own Centerville Dragway. We'll be married in 14 days. Be married 13 years. And we have 3 kids. But Wayne has an extensive background with racing, especially them owning the track since '93, I believe. My dad has been racing since the middle 80s. I remember going with him to Newport and his buddy Louis Harris and watching them all race and doing that thing. So I was around it, but he was never pushy with it. So I've just always enjoyed it. And Amber's the same way. Sonny is their oldest, and then Amber's in second in age. And they both have raced throughout the years, and Wayne teaching the girls what to do, what not to do, and how to maintain the track and run a business at a young age and handle money and talking to customers. So our families both really just mold together, and it's hard to find that, but that's where it started. So and then to see, people don't know how me and Amber met.
That's what I was fixing to get at.
Well, Sonny and Eric, they met at the racetrack,
right.
But Amber and I met from what my dad tells me, that my dad Greg and Sonny had been talking about getting me and Amber together and meeting up and putting 2 good people together. Basically, Dad knew me, he knew their family, and she knew us from racing. And I was at a bracket race one day racing, and my dad was racing as well, and I had an incident at the end of the line that hit the brakes to keep from breaking out, and I was running another guy, and the caliper on the driver's side locked up and took me off the track. Well, if you can imagine those big 6-foot hay bales, and it had rained 2 days prior. Well, there's 3 of them there in front of the scoreboard. I took them all out. Totaled the car. I was fine. I was harness, helmet, and all that stuff like you're supposed to. And, the car's, the front end is destroyed, and then that's a whole different story. But Wayne and Patty come to the aid and got me on a little oxygen. I was a little stressed out, a little shocked to see my car. I'm 540s at 127, 128, and you come to a non-stop, baby. You feel it. You feel it. I get back to the pits, and I'm calming down. I'm good. I'm just like, man, what happened? I had the guy. And so here comes Amber. She's got a bottle of water and a Tylenol. She says, hey, I just wanted to bring you over this bottle of water and just, I hate to see the car. I'm glad you're okay. And I said, well, is this for me or for the car? you know, because the car's wrecked. I'm fine, you know. So that's like hook, line, sinker. I got her, you know.
Yeah.
You know, but the next day I had emailed Patty and said, hey, thanks for attending to my needs and making sure I was all right. I felt really special that, you know, y'all had all the things in place. And I said, oh, tell Amber thanks for the bottle of water. Well, the next day, Amber emails me personally. She's like, hey, I hope you don't mind, but I got your email from my mom, and I just want to say you really scared us all, and you're the cutest thing I've ever seen. She didn't say that at that point, but that's where that's where the story started, you know, and we've been going ever since. So
Me and her have been racing it, and Amber races some.
Yep, she does. She drove junior dragsters when she was young. I think from 7 to 8, a couple years there, and you know, we have her 03 White Cobra that she's done a little bit too here and there. I guess I can't quit making it faster to her long enough to learn the car. So, but we're about there with this next setup we got, to where she can get out there and really you know, get the feel, because she enjoys it. It's not a priority to her. Her love is being with me, getting to see me race and improve on what I enjoy. But also, we have Reese coming in. She's our 7-year-old fixing to turn 8. Take that back, I'm wrong. She's 8, fixing to turn 9. And get her into junior dragster racing. So, of course, this Christmas break was our big surprise. A lot of folks had seen Amber's video and our video of that, but we had surprised her with Amber's original 27-year-old junior dragster. So we had Sean and Cindy Covey from Showtime Graphics completely wrapped the new body. I mean, John Updegrove did all the chassis stuff in the back. Morrilton G2 powder coating. I mean, there's so many hands in this, and then Wayne and Patty making trips back and forth with it all over the place. And then Christmas, we surprised her with the junior dragster, because she knows she wants to race. She's got the go for it. She's got the attitude, and you know, she's got the drive. I think she can do it. So we surprised her with the junior dragster. So we're going to get her into the junior side of racing, and you know, just get her to understand what a vehicle, you know, even it's a junior dragster, but that prepares her for, you know, depth perception and getting used to how to stop a vehicle, and then anticipate situations on the track, and listening and watching and learning from, you know, Amber and I, and you know, my dad and her dad, whoever's there that just wants to help.
You know, a lot of those junior dragsters are pretty quick.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, they're a lot quicker than a lot of the street cars.
That's what I'm saying. So
I mean, they get down. Yeah, I mean, there's
pretty
several. Probably I would say high 6, 7 second, 8th mile.
Right.
That your average car ain't, baby, it ain't doing it. So yeah, it's got a new Briggen Stratton motor on it. It's their race motor, but it is significantly turned down, so it might run a 13-second 8th mile. Something.
You can work her in.
Yeah. So very progressive to get her to, you know, like we were talking about today, to someone that asked us about her racing, is, you know, just because you get on a brake doesn't mean you get on it hard, nor do you get it on soft. And that comes with depth perception and speed and knowing how to regulate all that. So, you know, it's a learning curve, like anybody learning a new sport or activity, or learning how to drive for the first time. You know, it's something we're excited about because she's excited about it.
Right.
So she's in competitive cheer. She's in her local town basketball girls group, so she's in a lot of different things, but I think she's really going to be competitive once we get her there this coming year, hopefully. So we're excited about it.
Could tell, especially by the video. You could tell she was excited, and it's always good to see, especially in today's time and age, young people want to get involved
in
having an interest in motorsports.
Oh yeah. As long as they take it the legal way. I mean, there's so much publicity, you know, for the street stuff, and not to say that any of us hasn't done it, because we all at some point do it, but you know, when it gets down to the point of pure safety and the amount of time it takes to get any of these cars together, and then the most thing is the budget you put into that. It's so hard for me to even think to put my car on the street to risk something that I've had my personal car for 10 years, and then take 3 years to fully get it to where I want it, to lose it on a street that's not necessarily prepped, or have the things in place that can keep it contained in that area. That is salvageable if it does get loose.
Right.
So I mean, we want her to understand both sides of it. That when she gets older, there may be something that someone tries to do that with her. As parents, as mentors like y'all, and being around the track, you do the best you can and be as informative and take the prior precautions to, hope they do the right thing.
And I'm probably going to get bashed for saying this, but I'll say it. There's a lot, on the street racing deal, especially what we see televised in the different shows. That, there's a lot of young people that probably don't realize that what you're seeing is an actual production.
Yeah.
It's not like going out near your hometown on straight stretch and actually doing a race that is highly dangerous. It's dangerous not only for the participants, but the innocent people that may be out on the roadway as well. And that's why we try to stress as much to, if you want to race, please, go to Centerville, go to Prescott.
Your local drag strip.
It's so much safer. But like I said, I'm probably going to get bashed for that, but in all reality, it's reality TV.
Yeah, it's staged. I mean,
it's entertainment.
Sure.
And it's saying that you talked about your wife and your daughter. What about Caleb's race? Caleb, we got the first part there where you bet, but I'm talking about, you've done a lot of traveling and a lot of racing.
Yeah, I have. We've gotten to do more as, got financially but more stable with the kids and, the business and stuff. We've been able to do more. My first car was a 94 Mustang GT. I'll never forget, my dad says, I'll pay for the first ticket, next one's yours. He says, if you get in jail, you're going to stay there, because I've done something to get into that position. So it was a Mustang GT, automatic, nothing fancy. For 16, or what's that? Yeah, I just turned 16. I got it 99. That was a fast car. It was a 5.0. The 225 horsepower. Woohoo! But it was something I was able to learn with. I went to Newport later in the year, did my first bracket race, got third place. I thought that was pretty cool. And it just slowly progressed to more cars and more parts, and just learning what a car does and what a part to put on and what it doesn't do, and then just trying to advance what I knew worked for me. Talking to Dad, listening to him, several other people, and just enjoying it. I had my fair share of street racing. There's probably lots of people know that I've been there. It is adrenaline rush. I think that's where the call is too. Is for the rush. But in the end of the day, it's either your life, someone else's life, or you lose everything you have.
Right.
And I think that's what draws a lot of people to it. Is it's an adrenaline rush. Not necessarily that it's fun, but I can see where it has its place, and that's where you have to use really special discernment to know if that's where you need to be. Today, if I got caught on the street racing, that would be the world's worst. As a business owner, the last thing I would want my name is in Facebook, social media, newspaper, local business owner out street racing, causes wreck, totals of mailboxes, and all the stuff that is not required when I got a place that I can drive an hour and go race. I can go to my in-laws. We can go to Prescott, a little bit further. We can go to Memphis and run the quarter. We can go to Dallas and run the quarter. We go to Bowling Green and run the quarter. We go to Oklahoma. There's so many different avenues.
And that's another question there. With all the different places, because I know even though your in-laws got several, you did. Sure. You did a lot of traveling. You traveled around and raced everywhere.
Yeah.
What did you prefer? Did you prefer to go down here and run the 8 or the 1,000 feet, or did you prefer to go down to Dallas or somewhere and run the quarter? What was your?
Here's my take. Here's my candy. To run a personal best, I like 1/8 of a mile, because It's the fastest you can get your car in the shortest of distance.
Right.
But and I think it all depends on the car. My car, was a stock motor, started out, stock blower, and then we ported the blower, changed the pulleys, made 500, and then a couple years later we put a Whipple on it and made 700, put cams on it, E85, it's making over 850. And, I ran the quarter and it was running 920s at 142, 143, but when I switched to the turbo and the glide and really started making some power, after the eighth of a mile, there's no feeling in that turbo still spooling up, baby, and then now you're looking at 160 miles an hour, and it's tough. It's tough to find the right thing. It is harder on the car because you're essentially doubling the length and the time of which that car is making all that power. So there is more wear. There's a wreck at 160 is not good. I'd take a 120 mile an hour wreck over 160 any day.
Right.
But I mean, if I had my choice, I'd probably go 8th just because of the safety side of it, and then you can run a quick 1/8 of a mile time, but then the car will be slower in a quarter. There's just lots of variables to that. So I would prefer an 1/8 of a mile, but there's times that me and Amber, we want to go and take the kids, or just our date weekend. We'll go to Memphis. We'll Ryan and Susan Acock will all team up together, and we travel a lot together. The Acocks. We'll go to Ennis and run a street race, street outlaw race at the track, and have a weekend for it. So that's we enjoy both sides of it, but I really like 1/8 mile racing. Yeah. So
Your car that you're currently running, kind of take us through the makeup of your car.
Well, it's a 2004 Mustang Cobra, true Cobra. It's not. There's these guys with, they put all the badging and stuff on there, and that's cool. That's no problem. Mine is original Cobra. I bought it in February of 2011. So this coming year will make 10 years with the car. I tease people all the time that I've had the car longer than I've had all my kids. And some people have cars, before they've had their kids. So, currently it was a stock motor, 82,500 miles. The motor's never been out of the car in its entirety. It's 16-year-old car, so it's never been removed. We put head studs in it and turbo cams, and then I had a custom billet turbo hat built for it. Me and a guy, Justin Wheeler from J25 out of Colorado, him and I went together. He did more of the designing and the makeup, but him and I both talked about ideas and design, and we designed that together to run a water to air intercooler, which is water that runs under the hat of where the air comes in, so then the water cools the air after the air passes through it, so then you make more power. But it was a 76 millimeter journal bearing turbo with an 87 billet wheel, and had a power glide with a 164 straight cut first gear, so it's really, really high gear, really high gear. And then we're still running the 8.8 out back that's been, cut and eliminated and spooled, all the things that most good dedicated race car has. We've been the quickest we've been this year since we've taken a 2-year 6-month hiatus on getting it all together. Went 539 at 129 1/8, and that's with a 125 60 foot. So it's really good for the stock car. Me and 2 other guys were kind of battling each other for the pretty much stock long block record on these cars. But they stuck with theirs a little bit longer. It got towards the end of the season, so I'm going on to bigger, better things. So we're actually pulled the motor out, and I'm building a aluminum big bore 4.6, what they call a Tested motor. So basically your 96 to 98 Cobras had aluminum motors, and then your 99 and 01 had an aluminum motor, but it's a steel sleeved aluminum motor with turbo cams, and we've gone up to an 88 Pro Mod 91 millimeter precision. Freshened up the power glide the other day. Craig Payshar from Triangle Speed down in Orange, Texas, he does all of our tuning with the Holly because it's full Holly Dominator now. So he's been like my right hand man. I mean, he has brought me into Holly, he has brought me into turbo, and just kind of massaged me into learning about this. And it's great because I've always been a nitrous and a centrifugal blower guy, but didn't always want to go turbo because that seems like where everybody's going fast is turbo stuff.
Talk a little bit about the difference between the nitrous car and the turbo car for people that may not understand.
Yeah, so the nitrous it's a liquid in liquid form until it's into the combustion chamber. It's quick. People call it the cheap juice because you can have it bottle filled for $50 to $60, and then you can 100, 150, 200, just depending on how many kits they call it, increasing horsepower. It usually makes horsepower and torque instantly, and usually, and that comes in, when I say usually carries the power throughout the entirety of the run. If you have one kit, usually it doesn't. So that's when you hear people say, watch those turbo cars, because the turbo cars will get them on the top end. Well, the turbo, it takes time to spool build power because it works off your exhaust. To spool the compressor, and then it takes over, and then the more you go down track, the faster the car gets. So the deal with nitrous is, if you're an 8 mile car, it can really be to your advantage if you can get it off the line and hook it to win the race. But if you can't, well, then the turbo car, if it can get it to spool and do all the perfect things and get down the track, usually your turbo car is going to be the winner. And if most people have been in a lot of the local races, majority of the cars now are turbo cars. I know Mel Collier, he's a good local friend. I know he's raced the crap out of his car, and it's Austin Pathwick has got that car. Every season I see his car, it's a tenth to tenth and a half faster every time with small changes. So
we talked to Bill on the way down tonight.
Right.
We're going up to his place in a few weeks. But from a driver's standpoint, what's the driving style differences between nitrous and turbo?
It's a lot, actually.
Because people that may not be familiar with the sport of drag racing may not understand that there's a difference, but go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
The deal with the nitrous is I've played with a lot of street kits, and there's a little bit of racing I've played with some kits, but never dedicated big race car nitrous kits. Like Brandon Stewell and Mel, they got big motors, lots of money invested, but I still have played with nitrous enough that I know that it's really tricky. The timing setup, the fueling, plugs, plug gap, reading the plugs correctly, and then, once the car leaves, it leaves hard. It's probably one of the hardest leaving setups you can get is a nitrous setup. There may be some people say, well, I've had my turbo do this, I've had my Pro Charger, my Whipple do this. That's fine, but consistently you can keep adding more power to a nitrous car, whether it be timing, whether it be fuel, how you bring it in the progressor to make it leave harder. Well, you can't really do it with a turbo because it has the turbo lag. You can get them up and leave hard, but usually, this is just my humble opinion, but usually a nitrous car is going to leave harder the first 60, 100 foot before a turbo car will, or a centrifugal, like a Pro Charger or Paxton or, any of those guys.
What was you gonna say something there? Let's talk about the makeup, and obviously we're here at Straight Line Transmissions tonight. Let's talk about the makeup of what goes into building a transmission that withstands all this horsepower.
It's abuse. Yeah, there's several different setups. You got your, like Wayne and Patty at their track, they have a stick shift class. You take your normal Mustang, you go out there, and people throw on drag radials, and they'll make a couple passes, and all of a sudden it's broke. Well, you took the horsepower the car actually has that you spin on the street that you have that you don't hook, but then you put a sticky tire on it on a sticky track, and then you break it. Well, so you have to upgrade, synchronizers, you have to upgrade gears, different shafts, because it's not made to handle that abuse. But then when you start talking race cars, you have your Power Glides, your 400s, and then, the past, seems to be 6 to 8 years, they brought in the 2-speed 400, which a lot of guys run that because it can hold big power and there's so many different planetaries and gear train swaps that they can put to achieve a certain gear ratio for off-the-line racing. And then of course you got your gear in the rear end that you can change for your top end stuff. So I mean, you name it, you're going to break it. I mean, that's just the name of the game. And it's unfortunate because, you know, we work so hard to want to go fast that it's almost like the transmission is, you know, the after effect. You know, it's see if it'll hold, and then it doesn't, and then, oh, I've got to spend, you know, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to build something the correct way with the right parts. So, I mean, you think of an input shaft in a Powerglide. Yeah, they had a turbo shaft forever. Well, then they're still stripping the splines or breaking the spline at the cylinder ring, the lube ring on the shaft. Well, then now they have a ringless shaft that has no lube ring, and they've got the converter drilled, and then the hollow of the input shaft drilled to a certain extent that, I mean, it's, you know, you buy a $200 shaft, or a billet NASA shaft may run you, you know, $500 or $600, you know, on the light side, depending on where you get it. You know, that's just one part that, you know, different people have their take on their shaft. High temp carbon lining bands. I mean, it's just, you can go on, and then you have torque converters. So torque converters, they help stall the car, get the car's RPM at its peak stall. You know, therefore you can get the car to leave harder, you can tighten it up to get the car to leave softer, and that comes in with timing and traction control systems that are real advanced as well. But you know, there's most any cars that's making over 1,000 horsepower, like true 1,000 to the wheels, that's on a racetrack, probably is going to have a Powerglide. Now, once you start getting up to where, you know, 1,500 horsepower or more, and it's a heavy car, I'd say more than 3,000. There's majority are going to a turbo 400, 2-speed, 3-speed, depending on their design of racing. So you can go from mild to wild. You know, it just depends on your budget. And people have called me about, you know, hey, well, you know, I've got an LS1 in a Corvette, and, you know, it's making, you know, 400 right now with a cam, but I'm going to put, you know, forced induction and nitrous on it, but, you know, I've got this money now to do this. And I said, well, what is the your projection for the car? What's your end goal? You know, that way, because if I can find out what their end goal is, I can help kind of put them in a park zone to get them to reaching that point, but not overbearing their budget. You know, so whether it's, you know, shift kits or hardened input shaft, and then later on down the road we upgrade planets. You know, it's just, you have to be careful with your budget, because you don't want to spend a lot on the transmission, but then in that 1 or 2 years you never reach your potential of making the car go faster. You sell it. Well, then essentially you wasted money. So that's why I really like to hear what people plan on doing with the car, and be really realistic with my transmission building, because I can make anything you want happen, but I'm not a salesman. I want to work on the car. I want to see you enjoy the car. You know, if you break it, bring it back. Let's fix it. Let's find out what happened. Let's go again. But it's mild to wild in the transmission world.
And you spoke about the 2-speed Powerglide, and forever for most part, that's been the go-to transmission in drag racing.
Absolutely.
Why do you think that was?
Well, usually in transmission, or in not transmission, but in drag racing, the less shifts you make, the quicker you're going to get there. Because if you're constantly boom, 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 well, the RPM is not able to recover because it's consistently changing gears. So, you know, the Powerglide is, you make one shift, holds decent amount of power for a good longevity, and they're not that complicated. You know, everybody has, you have your trans brake valve bodies, and you know, your manual shift valve bodies. So you know, you can get to doing manual shifts where you can manually shift it. You can get to trans brake where you're letting off a button and computers controlling your launching and pressure and shift timing and stuff like that. But I mean, they've been out since Mercy. I think it was the late 50s. I want to say the late 50s, early 60s when they come out with the Glide. And I mean, get on YouTube. I mean, there's how-tos to build your own power glide, which, I mean, most mechanical people do. You know, I know a lot of guys that they don't touch transmissions. They don't want to look at a transmission, but their personal power glide in their race car, they can take it apart and they can order the parts they need and get it together. And, you know, of course, if they have an issue, I don't mind, you know, taking a look at it. You know, I know Wayne does it, my dad does it. You know, we're all be glad to help people, and I know, you know, a lot of people don't even want to mess with it, and we don't charge outrageous rates to help our racers because we have the same common goal, and it's to enjoy racing with what budget we can, but not really make them out of pocket so much that they're paying off of the transmission, then they got to wait a month to go race. You know, I like to be able to help the racing community as much as I can. But yet again, you have to be realistic with your goals and what you want, because I don't want to say, hey, yeah, it's going to cost $400 or $500 and we get you down the road, and then you make one pass and break it, and then we start all over it. That's not my goal. My goal is to, what are you doing? Okay, well, this shaft will do this, and this shaft will do this. This is $300, but you may race for 4 years on it, which this one you may make 10 passes. So, you know, I just want to make sure that, you know, with what the customer wants to do is, you know, customer, friend, you know, whoever, family member, that I provide the best service I can for them. But yeah, the Power Glide, to answer the question, is just a good, reliable transmission. It really is. There's parts from everywhere. All you name the transmission supply company, they've got the parts. So just a good working transmission, it really is.
What do you see in racing? You know, we talked about how the transmission has evolved. What do you see in the future? What do you see coming down the road in the future for the racing automatic and drag racing?
Well, not a lot of people know, but Ford and Chevy, you know, they got together to make this new 10-speed. More so, it was on the Ford side, did a lot of development, and of course, Chevrolet has their 8-speed out, and it has similar characteristics to it, but Ford's new 10-speed, I mean, they've taken a bone stock 10-speed and put a big turbo kit on a stock Mustang. I think they got a lot of weight reduction in that car, but it went 790s and a quarter at like 178 miles an hour out of a factory 10-speed Ford transmission. I've had the privilege to build 2 of them already. I've got my 3rd one coming in a few weeks, but and that goes back, you say, well, you don't want to shift that many times down the track. Well, you don't. They've got it to where it's select a shift, depending on the load, the range, the speed, the power. It may go 1, 2, 4, 6, 7 on a racetrack, depending on how it's tuned, the car set up. So, but the ratios are so low. So like first gear is like a 488, I think 488, 5.1 on first gear. That's a crazy, and that's just transmission gear. Then if you have like a 355 rear end gear, you're looking at a huge first gear. So they can launch hard, they can even command a takeoff in second, to where it's still second gear ratio, and the 10-speed will still be faster than a 4-speed or a turbo 350 or a Power Glide. And that way they take off, but then they can select a higher range, because the RPM, it may shift at 8 grand, but it only may fall off 600 or 800 RPM, which is peak power performance out of the engine. There's not that big recover it has. So, you know, for like a lot of late model cars, the 10 speeds that's a killer transmission. There's not a lot of hard parts out there for them just yet. There's some upgraded clutches that I've done. I've had to do some custom machining on some plates and some pistons to really make the clearances come out correct, because you have to be careful because they're so selective on their clutch clearances. Their timing on and timing off can cause clutch drag and cause it to burn up, make the car slow, and poor performance. But far as for the near future, I mean, you're not going to get rid of the Power Glide in the Turbo 400. I mean, there's several people who has Turbo 350. It's a decent transmission. You know, it's a 3-speed. The 400's a 3-speed. The Glide's a 2-speed. But just for the foreseeable future, the 400 is probably going to be the go-to, just because of the, you know, with technology improving and people getting faster and faster and faster. You know, the Glide will always, I think, will be for the budget racer, even though you can spend, you know, $4,000 on a Power Glide to hold 2,000 horsepower.
I'm glad you mentioned me and you, the budget race, right? So.
No. I'm budget as well. That's why I got a Power Glide in my car, you know. You know, someday I may go Turbo 400, but, you know, just for now, you know, I go Glide, but I think you can make either one as fast. But, you know, the real big guys, you know, they got those, you know, Lindsay Musey, you know, all those cats you see on TVs. You see the in-car shot, and you see the tunnels come away. Well, there's a,
right,
you know, Turbo 400 sitting there. So, but I just want to give a perspective for people that don't know about the new, even the, you know, the 6R80s and the Mustang. They're a great unit. I mean, I got several Coyote guys that I've built 6-speeds with, which, you know, a lot of people know the intermediate shafts break, the clutches are weak in them. And I'll go and put the new Stage 2, you know, clutch kits in there, the TCS, intermediate shafts, and a good converter. And man, they'll hold 800 horsepower of the tire all day for many years. You know, but there's some planets, there's some issues that they have that they've upgraded here in the past couple of years that are really good for them. But you know, GM, as far as late model GM crap, man. They're good for business, you know. As bad as I hate to say that, I mean they really are. The new 6L80, 6L90s is replacing the old 4L60E 2-3 bumped RPM rev limiter, losing 3-4. It's replacing that. Just the design is good, and when you fix the hydraulics, they're good units, but they have a horsepower limit as well, and it's about 1,000. You know, it'll hold it, but for how long? So that's the issue. Yeah, I can make one hold 1,000, but put a 4L80 in it, you know, it's like a 400 with an overdrive. It'll hold 1,500 horsepower for many years, no problem. But the 8-speeds, they're okay. They're in the VETs, they're in the Z06 supercharged C7s and stuff like that, but that's not my cup of tea. I build them. I fix them. That ain't no problem, but you know,
what's in store for Caleb Emerson as we go into 2021 race-wise?
Race-wise, well, I'm a goal setter. My wife Amber, she's a goal setter. We have goals for my business. I try to instill goals for my guys. You know, they may not be goal setters, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But I try to see. You know, hey, how many transmissions do you want to build this year? How many you want to build? Do you want to learn to build differentials? Do you want to be able to learn more about wiring and diagnosing? You know, I want my guys to tell me what areas they're not really advanced in, so I can help them advance their life. You know, because if they're at home or they're talking to a buddy, they can help them. Well, that came from me. What I've learned has come from other places and things that I've picked up. But you know, as far as racing, you know, this year was 550s. You know, I mean, you take a stock motor, 3,400 pound car and go 550s. Yeah, I mean, it's obtainable, but I didn't know how much the car could do it, and you know, we got there pretty quick, and I was, wow, this turbo stuff's the real deal, you know. And then, you know, as we kept fixing the electrical bugs and slowly, you know, turning the car up here, bringing in power here, you know, changing shift points, and it dropped a tenth. We went to Bowling Green, it dropped another half a tenth. But that 164 first gear kills the car, because I mean, I was doing like 134, 136 60 foots, which is nothing. I mean, for my car and my preference, that was no good. So we decided to change the rear gear for the 1/8 of a mile racing, because if I put 410s in the car, I wouldn't, with the stock motor, I couldn't obtain that RPM. It would do the RPM, but it wouldn't hold it out. It would be going to the rod god, as they call it. So when I changed from 373s to a 410, well, that dramatically changes your first gear. And then we dropped a full tenth just on the 60. We went to a 126, and then later on a 125 60 foot. So that's the best of 60 foot it ever had at Wayne and Patty's at Centerville. But this new year, going in with this new motor, I mean, you know, me and Amber were talking about, she's like, you know, what do you want to do? And, you know, just kind of talking budget. And, you know, the biggest expense on the car was already paid for. It's just, you know, small upgrades. You know, the motor is not a cheap upgrade, but I've had some of the parts for a couple of years, buying a little bit at a time, so I don't have this big bill at the end to pay for. And I was like, you know, ideally, I would want to do, I want 5.0s. You know, I'm 0.39 from reaching a 5.0, and here I'm fixing to make, you know, I would say realistically 400 horsepower more to the tire. I think I should be able to get it. I said what I'd really love to see is a 4.8 and 8. Now that may be reaching too high, too far, and I understand, but that's my goal. 5.0, if I get it, which is an unattainable goal, is fair. If it hits a 490, I'm gonna be ecstatic. You know, if it hits that 4.8, oh my goodness, let's go streaking.
You know, we'll let you do that.
Well, that's just what it is. But no, I just, you know, we do set goals, and I'd love to see it run a 480. I think the car's got it in it. You know, the car was an 8.5 compression from the factory, so really low compression to run a 530 and 3,400 pounds. Now I'm going to this aluminum test skid block, which is 80 pounds, just in difference when block alone off of the nose, 80 pounds. And then we go up to 11-to-1 compression. That's a huge jump. And the third kicker is we go from a 76 millimeter turbo to an 88 Pro Mod Series turbo. So we're going to make serious power. I mean, I've had to completely redo the whole fuel system, sump the tank. We went to a Aeromotive 5-gallon brushless, you know, different injectors, fuel lines. I mean, everything that you have to accommodate that kind of power. So even having to fix some stuff on the suspension to really make the car reach that goal. You know, I don't. There's not one person out there I want to run faster. There's no specific race I want to win. My objective is get on the track, get me in my state of enjoyment. That right where I'm staging the car on the tree. That's my enjoyment. That's my. The stress goes away. The clouds open up. The sun beams down. The race gods allow me to go down the track, and that's my candy. You know, that's what I like. So.
That's a great attitude to have towards the sport.
Yeah. But yeah, if I get some of my buddies up there and let them see the tail lights finally, because I kind of, you know, when I was talking about the finances, I don't believe in credit cards. I don't have no major debt. I just don't. My business is paid for other than my mortgage that we bought the property 2 years ago in May. I don't have any debt. You know, that's why there may be people that buy all these parts and then put the car together and go race 2 or 3 months, and then they hurt something. Oh man, they've got tons of debt and then they can't fix the car. I decide to buy progressive, you know, as I can, to do what I want. If the car breaks, it can sit there. It's paid for. You know, that doesn't provide food for my family. It's a hobby, but it's something that I've worked on long enough and saved that I'm able to spend it correctly. So, you know, there's a lot to that. You know, I don't have the right answers for someone to manage their own finances, but for me, it was the smartest decision is to make the business run, keep my guys employed, make sure that they're advancing in their life, and then once everything is settled, we can slowly go back to racing and do that. So,
and I think that's a great assessment and a great attitude to have. Unfortunately, we see so many times, and we hate to see it, that people run into trouble in our sport because they don't have your philosophy.
yeah.
And I think you should be commended for that.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean,
We hate to see it, but we all know that it happens.
yeah.
And,
Oh yeah.
you know, if you're out there at home watching and you're thinking about getting into racing or you are in racing, I encourage you to take a step back and go back and watch the show again and listen to what's worked for Caleb. And because I think he's got a fine model for a business plan as well as a racing plan.
Yeah, I would also tell people is just because one part works on a car for someone else, and you may have the identical car, it may not work for what you plan to do with the car. So always do as much research as you can, reach out to folks, do as much learning and search reviews and watch YouTube or whatever videos you can of how the part actually works before you buy it, because you don't want to double spend. That's one of my worst things I tell people is don't double spend. When someone says, hey, what's going to be $300 more? I said, well, I'll call you in a couple weeks when I have the extra money. Yeah. I will wait to put the better part on the car to ensure that I get the race the longest I can without failure. I mean, anything can happen. It doesn't matter, good parts fail. I'm not saying that, but usually the better parts have a better chance of reaching a goal and providing you more success, because if you buy a cheaper $200 part and it breaks in half the time, well, essentially you're out more money. So, I would just encourage people to be patient. Nothing done in haste is ever good. Sleep on it, think about it. Hey, call me up here. I'll give you the best advice I can for what I think to get you there, But I love to talk to people. I love to communicate. One thing I've always tried to learn from me in the past, I'd say the past 10 years, is listen fast and speak slow. I think that's just good advice for any of us, because we're so quick to want to say something, but we're not so quick to want to listen. So I've really tried to mold that into my life. I know there's times that I get quick and get ahead and try to help people as fast as I can, but personally I think I've come a long way with trying to listen to help them more, because if I can listen, I think I can get them to a better end goal.
Well, I tell you, it's certainly been a pleasure to be here tonight. And,
thank you very much.
To open your business up to us and all the folks that are going to be watching this. And, one of the great things about coming here tonight is the automatic transmission. For the big part is a big mystery out there.
Right.
But you've shared a lot of insight tonight with us and the people at home, and shared your racing career thus far in your life, and we think there's a lot of great things ahead, and your business model, and we appreciate that.
Oh, I appreciate y'all coming and hanging out and getting the kind of people get to see with the background and how we do things and what I enjoy. So thank you for allowing me to be here too.
Well, it's certainly been an honor, and like I said, we appreciate, like I said, the New Year's coming up, being not too far away from home tonight.
Right.
So about this now. Heath, you want to do a little bit on year-end review?
Well, just thinking back to a lot of places that we've been, this year.
I mean, we got started the 1st of October.
And when we got this thing started,
And I want to interrupt just a second. We hoped that 10 people would watch.
Right.
And 1,000 watched while the show was going on that night. So
That's great.
We kind of got sitting in the office one day and we're talking, trying to figure out, we're just talking racing. And
that's the best thing.
Yeah, talking racing.
We do that a lot.
And we got to talking about how a lot of stuff is getting lost. And that's the reason we started this. And just to travel around and kind of put some of the stuff out there that people have forgot over the years. With, last week we did a show with some local guys in our area that raced at Centerville and raced at Crow Mountain Speedway and in Morrilton there at the little track there at Apollo. Some of those guys there, they're 80-year-old. now, and they're still racing.
Well, that's
all right?
great.
And a lot of those stories that they were telling, is stuff that happened back in the '60s when the tracks got started that people never would know, and that's the reason we started this deal, and and it's not just drag racing, dirt track racing. We're trying to get. We've been to Pine Bluff down there where they've got at the Wildman Racetrack where they've got drag racing, but it's mud drag racing and
awesome.
pickup trucks.
Oh,
And we want to get out there to the kart racers, that are racing karts. We want to visit with everybody that we can, and that was the reason we're starting this. And like
there's just not a lot documented out there about the history of motorsports in Arkansas.
And this is our last show for this year. Next year we'll start up and we'll have other places that we'll be going and visiting with. But we got to visit with a lot of folks this year. We've had Bill Fry on here.
That's awesome.
And talked to him, and he's in the Hall of Fame. We got to visit with him. Johnny Verder, that raced with Fry. And then
Lonnie Cunningham.
yes.
Yeah, I seen Lonnie today actually.
And just a few names that we throw out there, and then the
Ray
guy
Sullins.
Ray Sullins,
Yeah.
And a lot of these folks, and even the ones up there at Wildman, the different stories that they tell that we get to listen to and video, and other people get to watch, and then people get to start spreading some of this stuff around. And that's the reason behind why we're doing this. And there's just lots of stuff out there that people don't get to hear. We got Tommy New, Mikey Bell, and those guys over there. And then we've been up to Shaw Motorsports up there for sure. We got to sit down with those guys at Shaw and look at race cars. What was great was beforehand. We got to look at race cars, talk to them about race cars, and talk to them about the dirt cars, and then building the dirt cars, and then and we got to visit with the Mosley family up there that has bought Shaw, and just great people, And then we had Larry Shaw there that talked about how many race cars he built all these years. So we're just getting to put a bunch of stuff out there that people may get to look at.
Well,
and,
I'll commend you on that
learn.
because think about it from this point of view, from looking at a racer's perspective out. No one is doing what you're doing, and it's very commendable because when you're at a track and you're watching people race, they may see me race, but they have no idea the background that I came from.
Right.
And then here you guys are opening up, your time and efforts to go to these places and talk to people and put specials and put so many of these great guys before me. I mean, I'm just a little guy with, a toothpick trying to hit a home run, I'm blessed that I have this opportunity, but when y'all do this and go out and, interview folks at their business and what they do, it gives people and customers, racers, the fans, it kind of gives them identity to who they're watching, and that's amazing.
And we want to go out and promote all racetracks around the state. I mean, we want to promote every racetrack in the state, whether it be dirt track, drag strip,
Mud,
kart, and we just want everybody. We want to try to get out there and let everybody's story be told.
Because every racer has a story.
Every racer
and they're not,
how they got started.
And they're not getting told.
So
and they haven't been told, or very many.
So we're just trying to get a few of those out there and visit with some folks and get as many as we can, and
an example, last week's show. We've been around those guys that was on there all of our lives, but we learned things before and during and after the show that we didn't know about, and nobody else really knows about it. And and those stories and those things that we heard before and during and after, if we hadn't been doing this, those stories and events are going to be lost forever. And that's what this is about.
And we appreciate everybody watching.
I
checking
said,
us out and listening to what we got to say. You know, we're not professionals at this by any stretch of the imagination. We like to get on here and try to talk and best we can and let people understand, you know, a little bit about racing, because there's lots of it out there. There's lots of people out there that are doing it, and it's, you know, we don't want this to be a lost sport.
right. Or we don't, or the history be
The
lost.
history behind it.
And I want to say something. I want to thank Bear Brantley
Yes.
with the
Drag Racing
Arkansas
Hall of
Drag
Fame.
Racers Hall of Fame
Yes.
for all the help.
He does a
he's,
lot.
He's been to us. He does a lot, and we want to thank him for all of his help. And like I said, support the Arkansas Drag Racing Hall of Fame. Like I said, if you're still need to make a tax deductible donation before the end of the year, do it to the Arkansas Drag Racers Hall of Fame.
Is that why you stopped here last? Or did you save the best for the last? Let me put it to you that way.
But
No, I'm just
but
teasing.
no, like I said, we really value the efforts that Bear Brantley and all those guys, put into that. And,
Absolutely.
but there are just so many stories out here in Arkansas that need to be told, and hopefully, we're going to stay on the road in 2021.
Right.
And I know January and February's lining up. It looks like to be some exciting
Be some fun
times.
places.
Going to be some fun places to go. A lot of great information to be had, and we're just excited, and we want to thank all our sponsors.
Right. We couldn't do this.
we couldn't-
without them. And,
We couldn't do it without
It's a
people
lot
like
of work. It's a lot of work, especially for y'all guys.
So, and while I'm thinking about it, next week we won't be on air next week because
Aaron's
Aaron-
going to be on vacation. Our production manager,
Aaron's going to be on
Gilkey, will
vacation, and we can't operate all this equipment without him. And so next week we're not going to be on, but we've got some big stuff set up for January.
But I'll bet production manager Aaron Gilkey airs a very nice
Yes.
show that was taped earlier in the year, and I've got a good idea of probably what it's going to be. And if you're used to tuning in to Tuesday night, tune up on Tuesday night. Tune in next week for a very informative show with Steve and Rachel Haynes from Steve's Speed Shop, and a lot of great drag racing history. I mean, that guy is phenomenal. And so if you can next week, tune in to some great Arkansas drag racing history next week at 7 o'clock. And again, thanks to Aaron who does our production of the show and takes care of the Facebook and the web page. And there's a lot of great stories fixing to come out on the web page in January. And so stay tuned. We're excited.
We're excited. We're looking forward to the places we get to go this next year. And we
we just-
appreciate Caleb for having us up here.
I love
Straight
it.
line
I love
transmissions
it. I'm glad
here in
to
Greenbrier, Arkansas.
be here for everybody and have y'all here. It's been an honor. It's
Well,
awesome.
all right. So for season number 1 of Arkansas Motorsports Magazine, Tuesday Night Tune-Up, we want to thank again True Grit Auctions in Dardanelle, the Centerville Dragway, Shaw Race Cars in Batesville, and Weston Petroleum Company in Plummerville, Arkansas. And also a big shout out to Jim Philpott up in Greenwood, Arkansas. Philpott's Complete Car Care. He does a lot for us. And we look forward to going up and visiting with him and some of his buddies in a roundtable discussion in a few weeks about stock car racing around the Fort Smith area. Mel Collier, we're coming to see you. Johnny Bone Jr., we're on our way. And Larry Shaw, we're going to be going to Larry's Museum.
Larry's
in
Museum
Batesville,
up there.
Sometime after the first of the year. So a lot of exciting things, and Heath and Johnny Verdner are putting together a show that's going to be coming out after the first of the year sometime.
Y'all tune in and see who we're going to have on there.
Some great late model dirt track racers.
We're
going to be on that show. So we give it away that Johnny Verdon's going to be on it. But and thanks to Johnny for all he does. He
does.
He helps put together a lot of shows for us, and we appreciate him. So for Bill Gilkey, for Heath Tate, and Caleb Emerson here at Straight Line Transmissions, I'm telling you folks, if you're anywhere in our viewing area and you need transmission work, this is the place to come. Thank you, and Happy New Year from Arkansas Motorsports Magazine's Tuesday Night Tune-Up.